It's officially good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Digital Learning Day for 2026. We're excited to continue to bring together continued learning, collaboration, and practical strategies you can bring back to your classroom and agencies. Throughout the session, please feel free to drop your questions and comments in the chat. We'll pause at different points to address them and make this as interactive as possible. All sessions are being recorded, and the recordings will be shared early next week so you can revisit key ideas or catch anything that you may have missed. In the meantime, please use the chat to introduce yourself. Our next session is From Basics to Boundless, helping multilingual adults acquire digital vocabulary. And our presenter for today is Jamie Adelson Goldstein. She's an instructional coach and curriculum consultant who, throughout her 40 years in adult education, has focused on providing professional learning opportunities that respect and differentiate for the needs of both adult multilingual learners and their instructors. She is currently supporting the Draw Digital Resilience in the American Workforce Project, which is amazing, by the way, and providing instructional coaching for agencies in New Mexico, Massachusetts, and Nevada. She has served as a SME in the Teaching Skills That Matter and Links ESL Pro projects. Her publications include Preparing English Learners for Work and Career Pathways, Links ESL Pro, and the Oxford Picture Dictionary, and Step Forward. I'm going to pass the digital microphone to Jamie. Thank you so much for presenting for us today.
Sure, Jose. Thank you. And Amy, I answered your question. Thank you. I know I can have the snow. Unfortunately, my husband would just be so angry with me if I brought snow here because it's the reason he left Cleveland. But it is magical, right? When it's light and not so many feet. It's delightful to be with you. And I'm hoping that you're feeling in an interactive mode, that your blood sugar is up because you've had a good lunch. We're going to do some talking, we're going to do some listening, and you'll have an opportunity to work together in breakout rooms during our time together. So if you're someone who says, please, I just can't take a breakout room today, I want to honor your voice and choice. So would you DM Jose so he knows, and we'll keep you in the main room and you can do the activity there. But ideally you'll do the tasks, and they're not tremendously challenging. They're just good good practice with some of what we're talking about. And what we're talking about today is vocabulary learning strategies to help learners access digital skills and their digital literacy. So I'm going to start right off with an activity that's asking, it's a social vocabulary learning strategy. And it's, what do you know? What do your colleagues know? And we're going to put you into breakout rooms for just 3 minutes. And what you'll do is look at this chart. I'll just send the chart into the breakout room, and you'll think about whether you know the term, whether your colleagues know the term, or whether none of you in the group know the term, and you'll need to look it up. And you don't actually have to look it up because I'll be your lookup source if you'd like. So would you please put in the chat right now an emoticon, an emoji that shows how enthusiastic you are about getting into a breakout room. Let's go for it. Just drop that emoji in there. Upside down works, Molly. I'll take it. Thumbs up. That's good. A couple of upside downs. I can take them. Okay. Oh, I love the starry eyes. Fantastic. So this is helping me because it's giving me a little bit of your temperature as well. But at the same time, I'm allowed to increase our rigor a little bit by saying, yes, I respond to your upside down heads, and your colleagues will cheer you on. So Jose, if you put people in a breakout room, I'm going to share this out. You're going to be looking at these terms and discussing whether you know them, and I'll put 3 minutes on the clock. Jose won't time the breakout room, but I will.
The only thing I will say is that it's assigning automatic. I You don't have to accept it. If you
Oh,
accept,
perfect.
take them out.
There's
Um,
choice.
I mean, if you accept it, you go in. So just so you know, here you go.
Okay, so once I see you get in there, I'll share this out.
Yep. So it's an invitation. No pressure.
And Jose, you maybe want to make don't co-hosts don't join for the next one too.
Did it ask you to join?
It did.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No problem.
And what I'll do, since I know who
Now, do we have
answered
everybody in
no,
breakout rooms that's good about being in breakout rooms?
I'm going to move a couple that said no.
Okay.
Um,
I'm going to go ahead and share the screen out to them though. So for those of you that are in here right now and can't take a breakout room, I totally get it. Go ahead and are they able to turn on their mics, Jose?
yeah, they could unmute. Everyone jumps in muted, but they could unmute. Yeah.
Okay, so if you'd like to unmute and let me know whether you know what oops, I shouldn't have let that happen. Oops, I'm giving the answers. What an LLM is. Anybody want to put it in the chat or say it out loud to me? Or just reflect? Oh, Mary, need to look it up. Yeah, sneak peek, exactly.
I would say that I don't know any of these terms. I don't think I can think of them off the top of my head. So I think
That's
they're
fantastic. That's fantastic. That's a need to know. Can any of your colleagues, Angie, help you with that?
well, Jose is my colleague, so I'm
Oh,
sure he
Mary,
can.
I'm so excited that you don't know them. That's fabulous. You know what I
Yeah, I
think you
don't
do?
I don't know them either.
Oh, Amy, wow, how brave. So the reason this is a social vocabulary learning strategy, which your colleagues are not hearing about right now, is that it is really difficult for our learners and sometimes for us to cop to not knowing something when it's being discussed. So in a social vocabulary learning strategy, you get a chance to identify whether or not you know something. And if your colleagues don't know it, then you're in a great position to say, let's look it up. And if they do know it, they can possibly teach you. Although sometimes we know with learners, they might teach it incorrectly. And then that's why we need the teacher facilitator to come in and clarify. So, Jose, can you help the group with LLM? You're muted.
Large language model.
Aha. So ChatGPT is an example of an LLM.
And I would have guessed learning language model. So I guess it's close.
You were close. You were absolutely close.
Close.
And if you think of that R as being reality, can you imagine what the A might be? Any idea?
Jose is trying to give us a hint.
So like augmented.
Yes, Angie, it's
There
augmented.
you go, Angie.
Exactly, augmented. Look how you're getting it. Google says it's augmented. Nice work, Mary.
Thanks,
Look
Mary.
Okay, so this is what the learners are doing in a situation like this. I'm not using this language. I'm using this language for you because it's really, was meant to be challenging. Okay, so Jose, we can bring him back in. Welcome back. I don't see Jose anymore. Do you guys see Jose?
No, did he go into a room?
Let me just open up the rooms. Maybe I'm allowed to do that.
Unless he bumped out.
Yeah, I'm going to close all rooms. We'll just close. Thank goodness for co-host duties.
Right?
Oh yeah, it looks like he popped into room 3. Maybe room 3 was asking for some help. So the concept here, obviously virtually breakout rooms, but in the classroom it would be small groups, and you would give, how many items do you see here? Give me a hand signal. We just have 5, right? Jose, you disappeared, so I went ahead and closed the rooms.
Oh, I disappeared because I got a ping that they needed help. I'm like, oh wait, I never tried this before, and I clicked on it and it took me.
Okay. So is everybody back now? I can't quite tell if everybody's back. Let me check. Can you see if everyone's back? Yes, Jerry, 5, exactly. There they are. There comes everybody. Jose, will you do me a favor and put a 15-second return on the next breakout?
Yeah, I was doing a full hour. I mean, minute.
Full minute. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'll edit it.
Thank you. So somebody asked for help. I don't know what the reason was, but feel free to put it in the chat. Just give me a fist to 5. Fist being not at all, not even 1. 5 being we aced them all. In your group, how many of the words did you get? Fist to 5. 1, says Pamela. I know we had 1. I can't, Elizabeth, can you hold your hand higher? I see you. 1. Okay. So it looks like room 3 didn't have a chart. Well, that's interesting. I wonder why that happened. So that's what happened to room 3.
Yeah, we didn't have a chart either. We were going from memory.
Oh, that's horrible. I shared it out to the breakout rooms. Well, technology. All right. So you were looking at these in your mind, but your students or the teacher and students would have this chart. Okay. And typically what I do with this is I have not my classmates, but my partner. I have it done with pairs or mostly trios. Trios or pairs, depending. If it's online, it's always trios because somebody doesn't have a camera or a mic. But in person, I do pairs because that gives the students, it just says, I know, my partner knows, we need to look it up. And it goes a little more swiftly than with 3 people, or I'm sorry, 5 people. But you'll notice that I had a limited number of items. You, of course, didn't see those limited number of items. So large language model is like ChatGPT, that's LLM. AR is augmented reality. It's an overlay of a digital map over a view through a camera. So kind of like the Google Glasses had augmented reality. I think some of the electric cars have augmented reality. Extended reality is the group for virtual, augmented, and multi. And multi is a mixture. NLP, anybody get NLP? Of course, if you didn't see it, you couldn't get it. It's natural language processing. It's the bridge between computer and human language. It's a lot of what AI is dependent on. And user-generated content is what we all put up on social media. So these would not be examples of vocabulary that I would teach to multilingual learners right off the bat. These would not be relevant nor particularly accessible. However, and especially if you didn't have the image, having the opportunity to do this activity helps you think about what it means to learn vocabulary socially. If you think of the last word that you tried to learn, that you heard in a conversation, how did you do that? Did you stop the person in the middle of their conversation and say, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, or I'm not familiar with that term? You may have said that, but the average multilingual learner will not, because there's a potential loss of face. So we'll be looking at that as one vocabulary learning strategy. How do we help learners with the social vocabulary learning strategy? Okay, so now it'll be a lot easier. It's all in the chat. Instead of a think, pair, share, we're doing a think, chat out, compare. So what I'd like you to do is think and brainstorm terms you associate with basic digital skills and just throw them in the chat. And we've got 1 minute. I'm going to put the timer on to keep, we've got 30 seconds. Sorry, I lied. We've got 30 seconds. The timer's on. Let's see how many words you can think of that you were basic digital skills. We're thinking about what are basic digital skills. Carol's got password, username, security, fine and gross motor skills. Interesting. Accept, click, tap, scroll, sign in, sign out, Zoom, credentials, account, You're going for it. 12 seconds on the clock. Keep on going. Log in, shift, link, browser. Troubleshooting, web browser, Windows. Enter, Excel, as we all do. Download, URL, web address, life skills. Interesting platforms and apps. And that's it. So let's compare what you said with some verbs. So how many of these did we notice in the chat? I definitely saw one of them for sure. I think log on. I think there was a log on. Am I right? Anybody see another one that we saw in the chat? Notice that a lot of what you put in the chat were not verbs. They were a lot of nouns. Good nouns, but nouns. A lot of times we need to use verbs to help learners achieve processes. So in many cases, teaching the verbs with the different nouns is a good plan. Okay, so it's something to think about, that these are really basic verbs that learners need to be able to succeed in basic foundational digital skills. Let's try it again. This time we're looking at, oops, I already started my countdown. All right. This time we're looking at digital literacy. What are the terms you associate with digital literacy? And putting that in the chat. So I'm really glad that we're doing this activity, because what I'm seeing here is the vocabulary of digital skills versus the vocabulary of digital literacy. Although Nancy, I see that you've got that going, and Amarita. And I see phishing and scams as something that you would you'd want to be aware of with digital literacy 100%. So let's take a look at these digital literacy verbs. I know with this crew that you are very familiar with the definition of digital literacy, which is, I'm going to read my notes, the ability to use information and communication technologies to safely, effectively, and responsibly find, evaluate, create, and communicate information. So what you did in talking about phishing and software is, phishing and scams, is that you talked to the safety issue. But we want to make sure that these concepts come into our vocabulary, that learners, when I'm talking about having good credentials, keeping your passwords secure, that has to do with access. It also has to do with evaluating. So I want to make sure that these high leverage words make their way into my lessons in terms of vocabulary. Any questions about the difference between digital literacy and digital skills vocabulary? I want to honor your opportunity, and I will give you 15 seconds of wait time because I'm a giver. Okay, we can always come back to that. So let's take a moment and think about the kinds of terms adult learners had to learn for their virtual classes in 2019. There were a lot of terms that came up that they would never have had in an average ESL class for sure, but also in, maybe if they were working on a Canvas, they might have had some of these terms. But muting, joining, you might say join a group, so join would work, but mute, unmute, video camera, typing. Most of our learners weren't typing in the classroom. So we had to think about the processes and the actions that learners would have to do in order to be able to explain what to do. I really wish I'd had my picture dictionary page when I was helping teachers in 2019 and 2020 get online, because it would have helped to have images. For example, just the idea of turning on your video camera. Do you remember how hard it was for people to turn on their video cameras? And it was a challenge, especially on the phones. So in an ESL class, I would be asking questions like, look, I would block out information. Let me use my annotation for a minute. Where's my happy annotation? Well, there it is. So as a teacher, of course, I would not, let's see, when they change the annotation, I would probably just focus on one piece, right? But I would ask questions like, how many people do you see? What is the black? Who is the black square? So they would see the name Laura. So I could ask questions that would start pointing out what was going on in this situation. So contextualizing the vocabulary for multilingual learners is really important. Let me just go ahead and clear that square. I should know better than to annotate. It's the nightmare. On the right-hand side, you see the fact that there are 2 types of typing, right? Okay, how many of you are thumb typers? I am so not a thumb typer. I wish I were, but I am not. I have tried it. I can, touch type, but touch typing on a phone is not really that effective. So just the concept of typing and the context of where you're typing is an important concept for learners to get in terms of the vocabulary. Put a Y in the chat if your answer is yes, and an N in the chat if your answer is no, to this question. Are you familiar with the digital skills, the Bridges Digital Resilience Toolkit? Let's take a look and see. Pamela is. So that's fabulous that so many of you are, and it's also fabulous that so many of you aren't, because my work here is maybe done for you people. So the Bridges Digital Resilience Toolkit is an amazing resource for vocabulary instruction and ways to help students with the different skills. Right now, I'm showing you the page that's on the foundational skills. When I click on this, it should take me, yes, it does, to the gateway skills. And you can see that these are the various skills that learners would be expected to be able to do for foundational digital skills, using the mouse and keyboard, understanding the computer, saving and finding documents. And for each of these, there's a vocabulary list. We tend to not want to do vocabulary lists by and large in teaching learners vocabulary. In helping learners look up or practice on their own, it's great. But in the classroom, a list maybe isn't the best for us to teach from. However, it's a great resource for us and for our learners to figure out which words they know already and which words they need to know. And this particular tool is so great because, as you can see the different tabs up at the top. I'm in the vocabulary tab. I can click on open in Google Slides, and I will see the glossary for gateway skills. So a definition is one context, but it's maybe not the way the learner is going to remember. A visual helps the learner remember the word. In the case of the digital skills glossary, I'll take this one, accessibility, what you see is the term, you see a definition, you see a sentence, which is a context, and you see images or icons that are also supporting the context. I happen to love this image because I made it, but it's an address bar, but it's giving you the context of where you would find that address and then where you would see it online. So the glossary can be a wonderful resource for helping learners get both a language context and a visual context for the word. The picture dictionary also demonstrates a way that we want to teach vocabulary, which is through process. Process is a great context. So moving around the screen, how do you move around the screen? Or creating a password, how do you create a password? And the verbs that are in that process can be useful in many different situations, but they are stickier in the learner's mind because they're in a context. So what I'd like to do after we've had this little diatribe on context and the importance of it is take you through a 30-second review, although my countdown is happening already, a 30-second review on vocabulary learning. And for those of you that know vocabulary learning already, this is a good review and you can check me. So let's say you encounter the new term in the wild, LLM, for example. You evaluate whether to learn it. How many times do you skip over an acronym when you're reading a report? I mean, it's like, okay, fine. It's going to be explained somewhere else. I don't have to stop but let's say you do decide to learn it. You determine its meaning. That's the first step, right? And you could determine its meaning through context. You could determine its meaning through a dictionary. You could determine its meaning by asking someone. There are a lot of ways to determine meaning. Then the real acquisition starts when you recognize it in context. So you've seen it in this report and you read a little bit further down and there it is again. I can't tell you how many times. Turning 60 next month. I mean, 70. Wow, I've just skipped 10 years. I'm turning 70 next month. And I find that something I learned on page 1, I may have forgotten by page 10. It's very discouraging, but it's authentic because I may recognize it. It's passive, but I haven't produced it. And so if I can't build my retention by using it, the chances are I'm not going to remember it unless it's super important to me. And then after I've produced it, then I start using the term to serve my own purpose. That's that's the acquisition. I have the vocabulary. So I'm sure you can relate to technology vocabulary having this sort of process where very often it stops at determining its meaning, end of story. Because if the learner doesn't have to make use of it anymore, they're going to have to keep being reintroduced to it. I guarantee you, whatever our learners have to do with WhatsApp, or texting, those terms stay with them. They may stay with them in the first language, but the concepts stay with them. So then it's just a transfer into English. Also, sometimes you determine the word's meaning and you say, oh, I don't need that word, and you don't spend any more time on it. I love Norbert Schmidt's work. He's a wonderful, wonderful, clear-eyed vocabulary instructor, author, researcher. Learning vocabulary is not just about memorizing lists of words, but rather about building up networks of words that are related in meaning and use. And the term network is great for our work together. So what we want to do, that's why we're contextualizing. We're building that network of words that are falling under a larger story. So take a moment and look at a recent tech term. How did you make sure you retained it? Just give you 30 seconds to just look at these different ways to make sure that you retain it. Molly, I love that. I saw it earlier, but I couldn't comment. Using a dictionary is not what it used to be, right? We can just click on the word if it's digital and up comes a definition. So sometimes though, going to a dictionary gives you so much more information. And sometimes we want to make sure that a technical digital skill word that has multiple applications gets an opportunity to be explored a little bit more. So sometimes, and Carol's saying I use a lot of sticky notes to remind me that sticky notes are my life. That and 3x5 cards. And then I have to find them. Yeah, it's an interesting time of life. So what you're seeing here are all strategies. Yes, Martha, word association. They're all strategies for vocabulary learning. So we're going to take a chunk of our time together now and look at the 5 vocabulary learning strategies and how they might work with digital vocabulary. We have determination, social, mnemonic, cognitive, and metacognitive. 5 vocabulary words on their own right. So the first kind of determination strategy that we often use is, looking it up, looking at a definition, looking at an image, looking at translations. So in this case, this is just the straight digital, it's the Bridges glossary with the definition. Now, of course, the thing about dictionary definitions, right, is if you don't know the word navigate and you don't know the word web page or the word view, none of that works. So that's why sometimes visual or demonstration is so important. Then, in this particular case, these pictures are also associated with that word in the digital glossary. Sometimes we can look at the translation because the translation is really useful. Sometimes it's a cognate. So you look at, for navigate, navegador and navegatur, and I've Spanish twice just because I really wanted to do that. Again, here you've got the word list with the definition, but what you've also got is the part of speech, which can help students at times to be able to use the word more accurately. When you're looking at the digital skills glossary, you can look up by theme. So if you know that learners need to work on mouse and keyboard, then you can go directly to the pages on mouse and keyboard. Hoping I'm going to see here in a minute. Okay, well, I put this in here anyway, so let's see. There we go. So this entire piece in the digital skills glossary is all about vocabulary for the mouse and keyboard. And Jose says that he uses his phone's embedded dictionary or he Googles it, which some of you already did. One of the things that we can really take advantage of are the affixes, the roots. It's a wonderful academic skill to have learners look at a word and see what words they see inside it. So what do you see in autosave? What do you see in homepage? What do you see in upload? What do you hear in usage? And that's an important thing. You have to make sure that the word that the student is analyzing connects as usage. And then we have the cognates. So you can look at, just as we did with Navigator, we can look at digital, which is identical in Spanish, or we can listen to the Korean.
디지털, 디지털.
Right? So there are many, many, many technical words that are shared between languages. We don't see the cognate because of the different alphabet, but if the learner hears it, they may be able to recognize the cognate. And I'm sure you've had an experience, I know I have, where I think I'm saying something that the students should be able to connect with because it sounds similar to their language. But students don't make the connection unless you authentically, intentionally make it. Very often, they're just not able to hear it. Okay, here we have an activity. You don't have to go in a breakout room for it, though. We're going to be determining the meaning of a new word or term by looking for context clues. Now, this is great learning for learners across the board, but we can actually make use of it with digital skills vocabulary, which is really increasing learners' academic skills as well. So you can look for a definition or a synonym or an example or an antonym or an analogy or an appositive in the sentence to help the learner understand what the word means. I'm going to show you a few sentences, and you're going to see up at the top analogy, antonym, appositive, definition, example, or synonym. And I'd like you to, I'm going to ask one person, Ferdinando, would you mind unmuting? Would you read the first sentence?
Yes.
Thank you.
She likes to browse the internet or look around at different sites.
Okay, everybody, what do you think that is? Analogy, antonym, appositive, definition, example, or synonym? Okay, Elizabeth says synonym. Caitlin says definition. It's a synonym because you've got that or look around. Okay. It could be considered a definition, but there's another one that's more clearly a definition. Caitlin, would you be, thank you, Ferdinando. Would you be willing to do number 2?
Sure. Browsing the internet is like walking down the street looking in all the shop windows.
Okay. What do you think it is? Okay, I see example, analogy. Number 2 is how I talk. Okay. It's an analogy because it could also be an example, but it's a little more highfalutin. It's a little more figurative language than just saying it's when you browse the internet. Well, you'll see what an example is. We'll keep going. Sorry, I shouldn't get into it. Okay, Molly, how about you? See the perils of having your video on.
3. When you browse online, you look at websites quickly, but do not read everything.
What do you think, people? Definition, says Carol. I agree, Carol. Okay, how about number 4? All right, Amy, I'm going to call on you because I know you're there.
Oh, goodness. She never focuses on a specific.
Just read it aloud. That's okay.
She never focuses on a specific site. She just browses the internet.
What do you think? Jerry got it. Antonym. Absolutely. How about number 5? Let's see who's been participating a lot. Jerry, would you read number 5?
Hi.
Hi.
He browsed the shopping website looking at pages and pages of shoes and shirts.
What do you guys think? Okay. Yeah. It's an example because it's really talking specifically about, it's not talking about it's like something, it's telling exactly what he's doing. Okay, and the last one, number 6, who would like to read? I won't call on you, just otherwise I have to ask Jose to read.
I can read it. I can read number 6.
Thank you, Pamela.
Sure,
Thank you.
no problem. The time he spends browsing, looking at websites all over the web, is his form of relaxation.
Lovely. We're left with 1. What is it? It's a positive. That's right, Caitlin. So this is the kind of work that we do at higher levels with reading. We could absolutely just do the example and the synonym for lower level learners, but this is an opportunity, if we can look at our materials, if there's a word that we're trying to really, that's valuable enough for the learner to spend this amount of time, we can teach understanding a word through context and the different ways of doing that. This is a lot of fun. This is about when you teach a word, you teach its family, you introduce its relatives. And that way the learner doesn't just get one word, they get many. So for example, a search is searching, searched, browser, browse, browses, browsing, browsed. That's the family, so that learners would then recognize when they see these words. Mouse isn't going to have that so much. It's going to be, I mean, you do mouse around, but there aren't a lot of there aren't family words with mouse. Where you tend to get this is where there's a word with a verb. That's where you mostly get the word families. So you can create short texts that use word families. In this case, the head word or matriarch of the family is search. So Lila has a toothache. She searches for a dentist online. She types dentist in Dallas in the search bar, right? When the computer finishes Yes, searching the internet, there are many results. Before she had internet access, it used to take Lila a long time to find information. Now an online
Search.
takes less than a minute. Good job. Great job. So something like this would be a way to get the learners not only focused on a particular vocabulary item, but seeing the patterns of language. One of the things that we want to make sure of is that learners aren't feeling that this word is only valuable in this particular situation and they're never really going to hear it again. Maybe this isn't the area that they're going to go into. We want to make sure that we show that the word has lots and lots of cushioning around it, that it's meaningful in multiple ways. And probably, I would stress that this isn't an authentic piece of writing, but it's giving them an opportunity to practice. So I would like you to spend about a minute thinking about the terms on the left. Imagine that you have to teach one of those terms, or you can pick one of your own. Which of this determination strategies do you think you would have your learners, or which of the determination strategies would you have teachers that you're supporting make use of with their learners? And would you please write your choice and why in the chat? And I should have had music or sound effects available. I'm sorry. Got to do that this morning. Oops, sorry. Okay, about another 10 seconds or so. I think it's really interesting. I don't see that anybody picked the cloud. Oh, no, Tiffany did. Sorry. Tiffany, if you don't mind, what kind of visual do you think you'd use?
I think I would find a visual that looks like a cloud, but also has smaller images inside of things that would be stored in a cloud, like documents.
Nice. One of the things I've seen also is below the cloud, a computer with an arrow, a two-sided arrow. So that, because I remember when I first heard about the cloud, I really did picture it in the sky. But I tend to be more fantasy oriented. Thank you for taking the time to think about this. It is something, it's great to have all these options for us. And I love the fact that you picked one or two at most to work with, because we can overload the strategy. Definition strategy, or the determination strategy, is the strategy that we probably spend the most time on as teachers, because we're helping the learners understand what the word is. And in learning about the word, determining that they want to learn it, they want to keep it. We already did the social strategy earlier. We started with that. And that's when learners ask for the meaning of a word, or not a learner, an adult asks for the meaning of the word, or they work with others to analyze or practice. So we didn't really have that in our social strategy. But a social strategy, for example, if I were to give you homepage, autosave, and I can't remember what the other one was, download. If I gave those three words to you in a group and said, find the words inside the words. So you'd be using your resources together to locate the words, to negotiate meaning, and then determine what the meaning of the word was based on what you saw inside. So that is the second aspect of the social strategy. And we're really combating that image down at the bottom of the loss of face, the concern about if I ask this question, I will appear like I shouldn't have this job, or I don't speak enough English, all those concerns that our multilingual learners have in the workplace and our native speakers have as well. The mnemonic is the strategy that bridges learning about the word and starting to acquire the word. So the mnemonic is where you start making a mental map of that word, or you taste the word maybe a little more. It's more engaging with the senses. So if you say the word aloud, just your mics are off, go ahead and just say large language model. Okay, it has a very specific feel in your mouth, large language model. It's actually a little hard to say fast. But when you do that, when you say the word aloud, it is creating a mnemonic effect. It's giving you the song of the word, and could have students clap it out. Large language model, large language model. So they hear where the emphasis is. But we want to make sure that learners have a chance to wrap their lips around the words. This is an important part of the mnemonic piece. But we also want to give them that memory connection to a personal experience. So for example, if I were teaching the word scroll, and I might talk about doom scrolling and ask students if they ever end up scrolling, if it takes more time on the phone than they plan. Would you put a Y in the chart if you've ever scrolled longer than you plan to on your phone? A Y for yes? Yep. Yep. I just heard that Ozempic can change that, which I thought was so funny. Lose weight and stop doom scrolling. But also it apparently makes you a zombie. So I'll keep my doom scrolling. The imagery is very important for mnemonics, but be careful, because just because I draw a hamburger on the board and someone else thinks it looks like a hat, I'm not making the right connection that I want. So that cloud that you would want to do, Tiffany, that's a perfect idea. And the idea that you're going to have additional things in it, but you also want to talk through the image, and you want to ask questions to ask students what they see in that image. Because a lot of times what we think someone is seeing, they are not. They're making their own associations. And sometimes that can make things a little challenging. We also want to help students associate words. So maybe scroll and doom isn't so fabulous, but maybe swipe left, swipe right, swipe up, swipe down. We want to make sure that the students get phrases. And then last but not least is TPR. And TPR is total physical response, and acting out a contextualized process can be really memorable. Here's an example of the visual types of images that you could do, but you would also do the physical. Here's an example of making connections to associated words and collocations. So this is a jazz chant. Chat GPT, or I'm not so sure if Copilot will, but many AIs will help you write a jazz chant. It doesn't have to come from your guts, but swipe left, swipe right, tap the link to see a site, scroll up, scroll down, take your time. I can't read this tiny type. Pinch out the page to make it right. Something that's just a chant or a song is very memorable for learners. And I don't know how many of you have done something in your life where you've had a little chant and you say it to yourself, like with parallel parking. 1, 2, 3 to the left, 1, 2, 3 to the right is how I learned about parallel parking. So you want the words as often as possible, not in isolation for mnemonics. For TPR, this is a total physical response. You'll have these slides. So if you want to share them with your teachers or you want to do it with your students, you will have this available. But first thing I ask, what's going on with this person? Can anybody tell me what's going on with the man? His phone ran out of battery. Perfect. Thank you. So it's time to go. Pick up your phone, unplug the power cord, push the on button. Oh no, nothing happens. So this is something that I would act out in the class, and they're just hearing the commands and the statements, and then eventually they're acting it out with me. Plug in the power cord, look for the charging light. There's no light. Plug the power cord in to a different outlet. Listen for the charging sound. Bling, no charging sound. There's no sound. Examine the power cord. The cord is damaged. You need a new cord. Ask a friend to charge your phone. Wait. So that's a series, TPR. Again, what you're seeing here is the mnemonic effect of putting the vocabulary into a context and a series of commands that are related to something that the student will remember. Cognitive, so we did mnemonic, we've done social, we've done determination. Cognitive vocabulary learning strategies are about practice, and practice makes permanent is the concept here. So what you want to be able to do, whoops, that just went away where we shouldn't have. Help students repeat the terms. You can ask them to put it on smartphone recorders. You can show them how to have AI help them repeat the terms. Oh, I keep hitting the wrong thing. I'm sorry. That's so funny. I mean, it's maybe not so funny to you. You can have learners label, so that sticky note concept. We have 3 tools here, Flippity, Sandbox, and WordWall, that will help learners label. I'll be showing that to you in a moment. We can have students create or use flashcards. Again, we can do this digitally with WordWall and Flippity. We can actually then have students look at word lists and circle 5 words that they're going to learn, so they can use the Digital Skills Glossary Index. And we have ed tech routines and gamification. And that's something we can do on Sandbox. You've got, in the Digital Skills Glossary Instructor's Guide, you've got a number of different activities and practice activities that learners can do. And they identify whether it's building visual recognition or whether it's building language. So there's a particular icon that lets you know that that's what's going on. This is WordWall. Could I get a quick Y in the chat or an N if you're aware of WordWall? And Jose is giving you, thank you, Elizabeth. So a number of you are already familiar with WordWall. It's a fabulous way for students. Again, this is the cognitive vocabulary learning approach. You can't do cognitive until you've done determination. You have to learn the meaning, but to start making the word be part of your vocabulary, this is a great activity. So it looks like you're familiar. I won't take you through this at all, but I will give you the option later to take a look at it. On Sandbox, could I get another Y or N for Sandbox, which is part of Padlet? Great. So on Sandbox, what you can do is create bingo cards for the learners. So the learners you can give each student a bingo card, and then you call out the different home, for example. So on this card, home is in the center. In this card, oh, for goodness sakes, that's because I went to the wrong thing. Dum. Go over here to here we go. And this card, home, is on the side. So I can set up the cards so there actually are different bingo cards, which is terrific to be able to do. And then learners are going to just mark the cards. So they're on, someone's on card 5, someone's on card 6, and I'm just calling out the different, what the different icons stand for, and they're marking them on the Sandbox, which is very easy to do with the with the text tool or the marker tool. I can also have categorizing, hardware and software. These are cognitive practice, but they're also mnemonic, right? Because I'm categorizing. So categorizing is a mnemonic tool as well. The last metacognitive, the last vocabulary strategy I'll talk about before you get to explore some of your own is metacognition. The metacognitive strategy is really when the learner takes on full responsibility for learning the vocabulary. They plan their learning. They self-select the terms. They self-test. They may listen for target terms in media. So if you played a YouTube that explained how to do XYZ and they're listening, all they're doing initially is listening for the terms that you've taught them. And then hopefully where you want to get to is that the learners create content about the new terms. So they're actually doing their digital literacy of creation. And one of the ways that I have done this in the past is, again, using a sandbox as a poster, because we can do posters. Molly, yes, they do work from a phone. Sandbox is mobile friendly. And for those of you that typed N for sandbox, I'll give you an opportunity to go over to the sandbox. So for this word navigate, we've got an image, we've got a translation, we've got a YouTube video, we've got an AI reading the word family that the student listed, we've got the student doing a demo of navigating, we've got sentences, and we've got pronunciation. All of these are available to the student on Sandbox. All these tools are available. So for example, let me take you over here and show you. So what I can do for the student is on the Sandbox, I can create a template and I can tell them which tools they can use to get the images or the content that I want for the poster. So Sandbox is a really great way to help students work with their digital skills at the same time that they're learning a digital vocabulary term or phrase or process. So I think it would be lovely for you to take this time to gamble through the possibilities, because it's been great for me to chat with you. It's been great for me to show you these 5. Oh, by the way, could you type the 5 vocabulary learning strategies in the chat? Those 5 vocabulary terms, can you put them in the chat for me? Evil laugh. Okay, Caitlin got cognitive. Elizabeth got metacognitive. Social, Amanda got social. Oh, look at Tiffany, magnificent Tiffany. Determination, social, mnemonic, cognitive, metacognitive. TPR, and what was the other one somebody put in? Context. TPR is an activity or routine that you use for cognitive strategy building. Context is what you do in determination as well as in social. VLS is the overarching term, vocabulary learning strategies. Martha, thank you very much. So I'd just like you to take your mental and physical temperature. When I asked you to put those 5 things in the chat, you didn't practice them. You didn't work with them socially. I determined their meaning for you, but you did nothing with those words. And I asked you to produce them without any practice. This is at the heart of the anxiety producing element of vocabulary learning. We want to make sure that we give students plenty of time to work with the vocabulary before we ask them, we quiz them, tell me what the 5 words are, which is a great exit ticket. So I'm going to ask you to, Jose is going to create breakout rooms, and the breakout rooms are going to be for Word Wall or the Digital Skills Glossary or Sandbox, or working on AI to help you do a word family or a TPR or a chant. And you can choose which one you want to go to. And the idea is for you to explore a little bit and think about, based on what we've talked about, most of this is at the determination and the cognitive stage. But Sandbox would be more at the metacognitive stage. And you're going to have about 10 minutes in that breakout room. I'm going to pop in. If you choose not to go to a breakout room, which you do have that choice as well, you'll just, this is a choosing a breakout room. So you don't have to go into any breakout room. Then you can do this individually. But it is kind of nice to be with other people to talk about what the tool does and what you think, how you think it could help. And when you come back at 11, no, I'm 11:25. What time are you? 2:25. When you come back here at 2:25, we'll close up and check in to see how your exploration went. We're back. Welcome back.
We're back.
Okay.
Okay, so what did you notice? let me just share. What did you notice other than the fact that you couldn't change anything on the sandbox, which you should have been able to do because I saw that you were all writers on it. So something went a little glitchy. And of course, that's what happens when you're presenting technology. It's the best way to present it. It's so authentic and human. But please consider going on and exploring that because it's really worth the time. And I'll make sure I'll go back into that link, but it's easy to set up on your own. So what are some things you noticed? Did you notice anything when you were looking at the various tools?
I got to share first, just related to that Padlet or the Padlet experience, with Sandbox. What we noticed, someone else in my group commented, this is what our students feel like as we were clicking around kind of blind in this new tool that we had no idea what we were doing with yet. And we were like, how do we maybe? And we were talking it through together. And it was a great kind of reversal of experience. So that was cool.
Yeah, we call that a shock lesson in the trade. It's even worse when I teach it in Russian. So, okay, no, I don't. I do TPR in Russian, not that. Okay, so yes, so how about the word wall group? Did anybody have any comments or did you wonder anything?
Well, we fell in love with WordWall and we're ready to upgrade to the paid version. It's great. Love the flashcards. Love all the options in there. Love the gamification that they include. They've got visual effects. You could print it out if you wanted to, but you could do it all digitally on a large screen in the front of the room. Yeah, no, it was very impressive. Really nice.
Excellent. I love that you said that because what you're saying that will probably influence many people who didn't go into the word wall room. So
yeah, word wall. I don't work for them, but they're great.
and anything with the AI?
There was no link for the AI assist, so we kind of were confused on what we were supposed to do, but I did post because we weren't sure on how to share it. So I did post the chant that we came up with using AI.
Oh, where did you put it?
I put it in the chat. Okay,
it didn't come into this chat, unfortunately. I think it
not in our chat. I could repost it on this chat.
Would you? That would be wonderful.
I see it. It says log on, click, power on.
Yeah. Oh, Jose reposted it for me too. Yeah. So that was the one that we did.
Perfect.
Our assumption was that we were supposed to take each one of the things, the word farm and the TPR. TPR,
no,
sorry.
You only had to do one. It was just to do one. It was your choice. So this is fabulous. We'll make sure that
we did all of them. I did one with I went into Chat GPT and I put in for a total physical response some of the things you could do for basic computer parts, acting it out.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
It's in Word. Where can I put? Let me see.
You know what? You can if you want to put it up in the file, or you could send it to Jose and he'll put it in the resources.
Okay.
There's a resources folder. If you want to use the QR code or the link, I'll put the link in the chat. I think
all right, I'll send it to Jose. But yeah, it was some things using your body to demo, so they would be able to demo.
Exactly. And I think it's so important for learners to put that into their bodies. In so many cases, that's how you can really remember. I want to tell you that I noticed that you're all terrific. And I wonder if, and I hope that this has been helpful. Thank you so much for sharing your time and go forward, onward. into the snow.
No, no
It was
more.
helpful, and thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. When you send the links, we send some of that warm weather also so we can melt some of the snow.
I promise. I promise. I think at 84 degrees, I can spare at least 10 degrees and send it to you. At least 10.
Thank you everyone for joining. We have one more session. It's a digital roundtable, digital literacy roundtable. It's going to be at 2:45. I'm going to be facilitating it. This last one is a little different because won't be posted along with everything else. So it's important if you could be live. That's where a lot of the magic's going to happen. So we'll see you in 14 minutes. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much.